Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the old world before the reset. For those of you who are like me, who believe that there was a much more advanced civilization before we came back in the 1800s, 1700s. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the old world before the reset. For those of you who are like me, who believe that there was a much more advanced civilization before we came back in the 1800s, 1700s, you're going to enjoy this video here. So this is a compilation of TikTok videos that will make you think. So let's get right into it. Look at the beautiful architecture of the old world. If we were so advanced, how come we can't make that today? It's food for thought. And by the way, this is only for entertainment purposes only. How beautiful that is. Look at the beauty of that. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the old world before the reset. For those of you who are like me, who believe that there was a much more advanced civilization before we came back in the 1800s, 1700s, you're going to enjoy this video here. So this is a compilation of TikTok videos that will make you think. So let's get right into it. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the old world before the reset. For those of you who are like me, who believe that there was a much more advanced civilization before we came back in the 1800s, 1700s, you're going to enjoy this video here. So this is a compilation of TikTok videos that will make you think. So let's get right into it. Look at the beautiful architecture of the old world. If we were so advanced, how come we can't make that today? It's food for thought. By the way, this is only for entertainment purposes only. How beautiful that is. Look at the beauty of that. Beautiful. Look at the detail of those buildings. Beautiful. That's Milan, Italy right there. Beautiful. It's Paris. The old world, hidden in plain sight. Beautiful. But we think we're advanced. I don't think so. Look at the beauty that they built hundreds of years ago. That's also Milan. In this video, we're going to talk about the old airships. Tell me what you think in the comments after watching this. And look how grand, when you watch this, you're going to see how grand that people used to travel around the world. This is the old blimps, they used to call them, or airships. Tartaria days. I think we've all heard about Tartaria and their grandiose architecture and their advanced buildings that we just saw in the last video. Let's get right into it.
1929, the Graf Zeppelin embarked on a famous 5,000-mile-long trip in a record-breaking 81 hours. Let's take a tour of its beautiful interior on its leg to Rio.
Continuing down the West African coast on our 5,000-mile trip to Rio, we fly close to a large liner and obtain magnificent views of her. We wonder what the passengers are thinking about with their air rival up above. How they must envy our speed as we rapidly overtake them. Life on board the Zeppelin passes swiftly and smoothly. We play cards and other games and watch the miles slip rapidly by. In the distance, we get a brief view of Cape Verde, but our 80 miles an hour gait soon leaves Africa behind. In the 110-ton Zepp are rest rooms and cabins, cozy and comfortable.
Look how they traveled compared to us today. And these cramped airplanes. Look at that airship. Look how luxurious it is. It's beautiful.
And a particularly fine navigating room from which the whole ship is controlled. Writing and games soon bring us to the end of a perfect day, during which we have covered over 1,500 miles. The next morning, we were early astir, and shortly after breakfast was finished, we managed to get some unique shots of the interior of the hull of the Sky Giant, accompanying the captain on his tour of the airship. The power eggs, as they are called, each house a 550 horsepower engine, and these engines run unceasingly day and night. From below, however, one obtains a most impressive idea of the great size and power of the ship, views which well repay all the trouble of getting them. But it isn't such an easy job getting in and out of the cars, especially with a camera, as we very quickly found out. And so we glide along, rolling down to Rio across the vast Atlantic.
Yeah, here's another video about the airships of the old world of the Great Tartaria, as it says here. So let's get right into it.
Because the airships of Great Tartaria were made from externally insulated but internally conductive metal framework, an electrical charge was transferred into the metal framework. Currents of electricity were then directionally used to lift and propel the airships of Great Tartaria. Whilst in flight, the metallic airships of Tartaria were continually able to optimally absorb telluric electricity from the atmosphere by the use of conductive antennae.
These are the lost flights of the old world. These are scenes you were never shown in history class. Imagine a world where any high-rise could be an airport, where there's no sitting around for hours on end at an airport terminal, because your apartment or office could be an airport terminal, where no ice walls or remote regions were unreachable. This is not some world imagined in our far-off future. This was our past, a past that was far more advanced than any textbook would show us. A past with beautiful grand architecture, unreplicated today. A past with free energy and free flight. A past that had to be erased, altered, and rewritten for us to ever accept this dystopian future we live in. History is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. A set of lies they agreed upon and taught to us as unquestioning truth. Well, as always, question everything, friends. Until next time.
Yeah, in this next video, it's going to talk about Tartaria and this is his theory of what happens. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only, but it makes you think about the old world, what happened. So let's watch this video.
Already living in a post-apocalyptic landscape, and that Armageddon has already happened, and the finest architecture that we see today is just the remains from before that apocalypse. And what if these old world buildings once served practical functions, once providing the earth with an abundance of free energy? But then what if the founders of this old world then suppressed that knowledge from us, and suppressed it again when it was rediscovered, rewriting the history books to create a narrative that benefits them, rebranding and destroying the most obvious evidence of this advanced civilization via controlled demolitions and orchestrated wars, thus creating the naive and obedient population of today, who are unaware of where they came from or the timeline they're even in. foolishly believing that we are the pinnacle of humanity, not realizing how far we've fallen.
Mud flood theory is a controversial hypothesis that suggests a catastrophic event took place in the 18th or 19th century, resulting in a massive flood of mud that covered entire cities and wiped out entire civilizations. According to this theory, the civilization of Tartary, which was once a powerful empire that covered a large part of the Eurasian continent, was destroyed by this event, and its existence was deliberately erased from history by the ruling elite. One of the main pieces of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the presence of mysterious buildings and structures in various parts of the world that seem to be older than the officially recognized timeline of human history. These structures, known as megaliths, are often made of large stone blocks that would have been impossible to move and erect using the technology available at the time they were supposedly built. Another piece of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the strange architectural features found in many old buildings in Europe and elsewhere. These features, such as strange windows and doorways, seem to have no practical purpose and are unlike anything found in modern architecture. Proponents of the theory argue that these features are remnants of an older civilization that was destroyed by the mud flood. There are also claims that the Tartaria mud flood theory is supported by geological evidence. Some researchers have pointed to the presence of sedimentary layers in certain regions of the world that seem to indicate a massive flood event took place at some point in the past. Other researchers have claimed that the soil samples from various parts of the world contain high levels of unusual substances, such as iridium, that are typically associated with meteor impacts or other catastrophic events. Proponents of the Tartaria mud flood.
As you see, it's a big theory about Tartaria, and there was some kind of event that kind of ended society as we know it. What we would call today a reset. So there's more theories right here that they're discussing this. So let's get right into the video.
It goes back to Tartaria, that the Great Wall of China, it's actually facing
the wrong way.
the holes that they would shoot arrows out of is facing towards China.
Yeah.
No way.
So
Yeah.
it's suspected that it could have possibly been Tartaria.
That's super strange. Speaking of the wall being built by someone else, possibly, want to talk about the Chicago World Fair?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
that's
saying
the
the
same thing.
influence was Tartarian architecture.
Have you
Yeah.
seen the pictures?
It looked like ancient Rome. They said
Chicago's
that they
World
built
Fair.
it for the World Fair, but then after they just tore it all down. And it's like, that doesn't sound
Dude,
right.
it reminds me of that whole conspiracy theory that we just skipped all those years. They rewrote the year of history that it was, and so we actually are living in right now the
1500s or
we're now,
something,
yeah.
right?
Now would be difficult because of the digital footprint that we have.
Yeah.
But it's like, it would be so easy just to convince people, yeah, this just didn't happen.
It's that whole Mandela effect thing.
The thing is, it's confirmed. Like, it literally existed. Like, and so it's just, why get rid of something like
The true answer to this question from us: why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question: were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their origins?
Yeah, and these types of things, you have photo proof of these things, that Tartaria and other cities around the world was destroyed or flooded. You know how in the Bible they talk about the flood, right? But is it really what it says in the Bible, or is this the true flood? You know, let me know what you think in the comments below. It's food for thought. Again, this is only for entertainment purposes only. So, and again, anytime you watch things like this, always do your own research. Don't take anyone's word for it, including mine. So let's get right into the video.
Look closely at this photo from 1813. It's the city of Krakow in southern Poland, flooded. But this flooding is not normal. It can happen after a hurricane or cyclone, but much bigger. Take a look at the surrounded building that is half submerged. The flooding has been so bad that other nearby buildings are almost completely submerged. So what could have caused this flood in 1813? It was caused by the Great Flood of 1802 following a 600-foot tsunami. And the photograph shows the waters receding 11 years later, and the buildings that were underwater beginning to appear on top. Some have doubts, saying that the camera was invented in 1839, how they photographed the flood of 1813. Well, the camera was invented long ago during the Tartars, and after Tartaria was decimated, destroyed by the Great Flood of 1802, the camera was just reintroduced by parts that control the world today. So the photo in question was taken from the roof of another building, or more likely, from a flying object, for example, a balloon, which was used a lot at the time, and of an individual who survived the Great Flood and had a camera with them.
You're trying to tell me that the civilization that constructed this beauty is less advanced than the civilization we live now? Are you seriously going to try and convince me that we live in an advanced civilization? Ain't nobody convincing me that our civilization is advanced. Just look at Poland, then and now. What about the Netherlands, then and now? You know, like the power of the internet, it's always been here. You're trying to tell me that this type of civilization that constructs such beauty and etiquette towards their architectural designs didn't have advance in technology? You know, in the start of the 1900s, they literally took the ether out of the periodic table. But obviously, this was all just for entertainment, guys. I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
The Tartaria theory suggests that an ancient and advanced civilization called Tartaria was deliberately erased from history According to this theory, Tartaria built sophisticated cities and was overshadowed by Western powers. However, most historians reject this theory due to a lack of concrete evidence and its primarily internet-based origins.
Supporters continue to debate, but the Tartaria theory remains controversial.
This looks like AI. Looks like AI to me.
That's why I like AI.
Everything that you see is not real. So this is only for entertainment purposes only.
Unfiltered scientific proof of what the pyramids were really built for.
This is what a real Egyptian tomb looks like. Dark, enclosed, and filled with hieroglyphs. But this is the Great Pyramid of Giza, the biggest tomb in the world. The closer you look, the more you realize that this pyramid was definitely not made for burying the dead. Why? Because the materials used to build it are exactly what we use today to create electricity. Giza was once covered in bright white casing stones, polished to perfection and virtually airtight. These stones were made of limestone from Tura, a quarry 500 miles away. They dragged stones the length of Florida just to make the pyramids look nice and shiny. This special limestone from Tura has less magnesium than regular limestone, making it an ideal insulator of electricity. Coincidence? Maybe, but let's keep digging. The interior chambers of the pyramid were built with rose granite, which contains asterisk 85% quartz. The same quartz we use to power watch batteries and barbecue lighters. But that's not all. Quartz is piezoelectric, meaning it generates a small electric charge when moved or squeezed. Granite also ionizes the air inside the chambers, further increasing the conductivity of electricity. And guess what? This granite was sourced from Aswan, another quarry hundreds of miles away. The granite slabs inside Giza have these strange structural designs that don't exactly look decorative. In fact, they're incredibly difficult to make. Why would you build a roof like this using 80-ton stone blocks from hundreds of miles away when you can't even see it from inside the chamber? Historians claim these were relieving chambers meant to prevent the room from collapsing under the weight of the pyramid. But here's the kicker. The chambers below had no such relief. On the other hand, if you were somehow able to apply pressure to these chambers, you'd get an electric charge from the quartz. A lot of it. But electricity can't just exist on its own. To utilize it, you need to direct it through something.
Pyramids. Dude, this new pyramid shit that's just come out?
Oh, this is insane. Yeah, I was going to send this to you as well, Jamie. I'll send you one of the most comprehensive breakdowns of it on X because it's quite stunning. So apparently, through the use of LiDAR, they have discovered that there are enormous structures underneath the Great Pyramid that go kilometers deep into the earth with coils. So enormous pillars, and then these coils. They don't understand what it is because they're just looking at LiDAR images. But whatever this is a uniform structure. There's several pillars. And all of this is like very, very, very weird.
Yeah, 600 meters descending down those cylinders, and then there's more stuff below it, and then there's additional structures inside of it. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's really crazy. There's a guy, Jay Anderson, and he did a breakdown of it. Maybe this would be good. We could play this. It makes a little more sense when someone's explaining it to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, we need somebody that's an expert here, not me and you.
Zawi Hawass, by the way, has said it's nonsense. So I don't know.
Already?
Yes. According to Graham Hancock. This is the wonderful thing about having Graham
Hancock. I texted Graham yesterday. I was like, yo, what's going on with this?
Yeah, so click on that and go full screen, please.
How significant of a discovery this is.
Dun, dun, dun. I love the music. And geometry, so you know it's real.
You got to appreciate the dramatic intro.
Project Unity.
What has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza Plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative-shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who was studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography.
Fuck, that's a
this
mouthful.
was used to explore the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. In fact, over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep down. This is what we know so far.
What does your friend think about it?
Which friend?
The one that you said it's bullshit.
Oh, it's not my friend. That's Zawi Hawass.
Okay.
Zawi Hawass is the head of antiquities in Egypt. He's like the head guy that talks to the archaeologists and gives the official narrative. In the past, he's been extremely hostile to Graham Hancock, but Graham Hancock and him have now become friends.
Oh, yes. I do know this guy.
Coordinating. Graham is a lovely guy. The people that like are enemies with him just need to get to know him and hang out with him. He's a genuine, real human being who's trying to find the truth. He doesn't have fake narratives, and he's so sensitive too. Like, he's so upset like when people smeared him, like the Atlantis thing. They were trying to say it's a white supremacist idea to look for Atlantis. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we had this guy Flint Dibble on, who in an article, and he was talking about Graham, and he's connecting Graham to white supremacy and all this crazy shit because of the Atlantis theory. It's the way they dismiss Atlantis.
It pedestalizes white heritage.
Because some people in the past who have theorized about Atlantis had white supremacist ideas. But also, most people didn't. Like, Plato didn't. Like, the people that talked about this place, it's in sub-Saharan Africa. I mean, it's like the least white supremacist discovery of all time, as are the pyramids. This is Africa. It's the least white supremacist notion of all time that this incredibly advanced ancient civilization had reached some sort of proficiency that's above and beyond what we attribute to them. I think Graham is right. And I think there's a lot of other people that are right, too, that are chasing this down. And Christopher Dunn had long ago theorized and wrote a book that he believes that the Great Pyramid of Giza is a gigantic power plant. He thinks it generates power, and he has a very like a working theory of why it's built the way it's built that totally coincides with the ability to produce hydrogen, the ability to utilize the rays of space and try to find some way to generate electricity through this.
All right, that's a wrap for this episode. I hope you like the episode today, talking about the old world, and if we're advanced in the past, more advanced than we are today. Tell me what you think in the comments. My opinion, I think we've been duped in history. I think history has been rewritten. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. So if you've gone this far, I appreciate it. To the end of the video, that means you're a real one, and I appreciate it. So if you like my content, give this video a thumbs up, a like, and if you really want to see more of this, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you are aware of when I put out new content. Thank you for watching. All right, you have a good evening. All right, take care. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about the old world before the reset. For those of you who are like me, who believe that there was a much more advanced civilization before we came back in the 1800s, 1700s, you're going to enjoy this video here. So this is a compilation of TikTok videos that will make you think. So let's get right into it. And welcome everybody. Today's segment, this is a special one. Yeah, we're going to look at how a lot of the Democratic supporters, voters, whatever, has jumped ship. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of commentary on my own. I'm going to let these people speak for themselves. You know, people are waking up. People are realizing they've been duped. And, you know, I just want to show the world that, you know, don't feel alone. Don't be afraid to speak your mind, right? And I'm going to let you hear from people that's outside of me and my personal opinion. So before we get started, you know, if you love the content here, do me a favor, hit the like button. This channel's new. I'm trying to get this word out there. And I think that you will enjoy the content. So do me a favor. If you do enjoy it, hit the like button. If you really enjoy it, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell for all notifications so you know when I upload. I upload quite a few videos every day, which I'll be doing. So you're going to get a lot of content. I think you will enjoy it. So with that said, let's get right into it.
Has this ever happened to you guys, or is it just me? Because these people crack me up. But listen, you ever have somebody walk up to you, it's usually a family member, and they got a problem with you because you're voting for Trump, okay? So they want to come up and tell you that you're the problem and you're making a bad decision, and because Trump is racist and you're voting against your own interests. And so you entertain the conversation. You say, okay, well, listen, what did he say that was so racist? And they say, well, you know what he said. And you say, no, I don't know what he said. What did he say that has been racist? Well, you know what he said. You know, he just said it. Okay. Well, what did he say? I mean, you know, he says it all the time. He said it all the time. Okay. Well, if he said it all the time, what did he say? And they can't ever tell you what he said. Now listen, I can tell you why I don't like Biden. I can tell you why I don't like Kamala. I can tell you why I don't even like Obama. I can tell you what they said. Biden said black kids remind him of roaches. Biden also said he didn't want his kids going to the same school as. Exactly. Biden also said poor kids is just as smart as white kids. Biden was also sniffing children. Biden also signed a 94 crime bill that was locking up more people in my community, but then his son was smoking an 8-ball a day. Now, mind you, Biden said if you even had a quarter size worth of crack, you automatically got 5 years, but his son was smoking an 8-ball a day. I can tell you why I ain't like Kamala, because something wasn't right up here. Every time she opened her mouth, it seems like I was at the like what the wheels wasn't turning. She was also running her entire campaign on unaliving children and being progressive. She's telling people, you gotta stay woke. You got to stay woke. I can tell you why I don't like Obama. Obama lit the whole White House up with abominations. Okay, and he's the one who ushered in all of this sin. I could tell you why I don't like Hillary Clinton. All them emails, Hillary, and all the Hillary sacrifices, allegedly, yes, a lot of that going on. Especially her running around here summoning Nancy Reagan, doing seances, talking about she speaks to Nancy Reagan. Well, I don't want no witchcraft, nobody leading the company. At least tell me, don't tell me you're doing it, Hillary. Anyway, is it just me or everybody else who wants to come against you? They don't have a real reason that they do not like Trump. And so I'm to the point of this. It is 2025, and there is just too much evidence out here to prove that the Biden administration was pure evil. And at this point, if you still want that Biden administration in office, also Kamala, I know for a fact that you love unrighteousness. I know for a fact that you support abominations. And I know for a fact that you support the mutilization of children and everything else that administration was doing. The stealing, allegedly. The pushing agendas on children, alleged. Now that ain't alleged, that happened. It was happening all in the schools. And then y'all was locking up, the administration was locking up people who stood against it. If you was standing at those school boards meetings saying y'all don't need to be doing this and having these books and stuff in the school, they was putting them parents out. They was arresting parents for not affirming their kids. Now, if that's okay with you, then that's okay with you. But don't come trying to tell me that something is wrong with me and that I'm voting against my own interests because I want God to cleanse the land of the evil for my children's children. You want to keep the evil in the land, and I'm voting to cleanse the land of the evil. We are not the same. Go America.
Black or emotionally manipulate anybody into agreeing with you. That's not how that works. And this is the issue with the left. This is my personal issue with the left, and this is a lot of other people's issue with the left as well, and why they have decided to walk away. Now, I am somebody who actually truly and sincerely loves humanity. I might not like every individual person. I don't like most people, honestly, but I love all people, and I want what is best for all of humanity. I treat everyone with kindness and decency. Everyone. Unless you cross me the wrong way, and then really, you're just invisible to me. I don't treat you poorly. I don't come after you. I don't try to attack your character. I don't try to come for your livelihood. You just no longer exist to me. That's how I operate. I choose to exist in love and light. I respect that everybody has their own walk. Everybody has their own course. Everybody has their own set of experiences. Everybody has their own gifts. Everybody has their own individual purpose. I respect that. So I don't try to force anybody to think like me or even agree with me. The entire purpose of my existence is to show people how to just walk in your purpose, period. That does not mean your purpose will be my purpose. But over there on the left, they're trying to conform everybody into one brain, a one-brained creature with a single thought process and a single belief system. Though they attack the right, trying to accuse the right of trying to push their religion and religious beliefs onto everyone, they don't understand that on the left, they have a far more aggressive religion that they are pushing onto everyone. Because as a follower of Christ, I love everyone. First of all, I understand that I myself am a sinner, and I am in need of grace and mercy and favor and forgiveness every single moment of every single day. So therefore, I have no choice but to offer it. At the same time, I understand that there is a right way to exist for my personal existence, and there is a wrong way. And when I am living the wrong way, it manifests in my life through anxiety, through depression, through financial issues, through relationship troubles, through self-hatred, self-loathing, sleeplessness. All of that stuff is a manifestation of internal issues that I have because I am living outside of my natural creation. When I speak openly, it is to encourage other people to get in alignment. I'm walking this walk too. I step outside of alignment. I was just outside of it not too long ago, struggling and had to.
My name is John Samuel Williams, and I'm running for the 51st District of California. And today I want to talk to you about my walkaway testimony. If you don't know what that is, a walkaway testimony is the point in time when I chose to walk away from the Democratic Party. When I was in college, I was a tried and true, hardcore Democrat. I voted for every Democrat candidate without even sometimes looking at their policies, without looking at anything of how it affected my life. I just right down the line always would mark Democrat, 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 because I hated Republicans so much. I thought they were all racist. I thought they were all against, the working class. Just about everything that you can read on the news today. And I want to talk about that point. And it wasn't a singular aha moment. There was no actually big thing that led to that switch, but it was this kind of slow realization. And I'll tell you when it started. It started when I was in college and Obama was elected, and I was so happy. And I remember it was the energy on the college campus was electric. And it was just phenomenal. I've never seen anything like that. and I don't know if I ever will, but it was just this environment, and you could just feel it. And I remember kind of at that time being challenged by some other people of color who were voting for the Republican candidate. And, you know, the same thing they would always say is like, no, you need to vote for Obama. You need to vote for Obama. Like, he's going to bring change because, you know, he's for us. He's black, you know. And I'm not saying that he didn't bring a lot of change. I still, you know, supported him. It's just there was a lot of things that rubbed me the wrong way about him and policies he supported. And there was this moment during the debates where somebody stood up and called Obama a terrorist or something like that. And John McCain in his town hall, if you remember this video, he actually like shut her down, and he was like, no, he's not. And he's like, I'm not running that kind of campaign. And this stuck in my mind because I was like, here is this Republican that everyone said is racist and is against the working class, who stood up in the middle of his campaign and actually defended the person he's running against. And that was just kind of the start. And then I started to, you know, just see how a lot of the Democratic policies were about using these people and using minorities to leverage voters. You know, essentially, they would find a minority group, take whatever their issue is, and then leverage it, kind of like stoke these flames to get more voters. And I saw this more and more. Essentially, it's like a patronizing form of racism. And I've experienced actual racism. And I mean, not perceived racism. I'm talking about like straight up call me the N-word racist, right? But this racism is different. It's a racism where you think that you need to belittle somebody because they're so oppressed and they don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to do this, and they, oh, poor them, because they don't know how underprivileged they are. And I always felt this growing up in San Diego when I would go to areas like La Jolla or this, you know, and they would hear me speak and they're like, oh, wow, you speak so articulately. Wow, you're getting an education. Wow, you're doing this. And I'm like, well, why is that a surprise to you? My parents raised me this way, to work hard and to fight for an education and to do whatever I can to carry myself in a way that, you know, respected others. And I was able to articulate myself. And they would always act surprised. And I always felt this feeling inside, like a little bit uncomfortable, you know? And then in the opposite vein, when I would go to people, you know, who were conservative, you know, in the South or anything, when I would tell them this, they were like, that's freaking awesome that you work so hard. That was their first response. You know, they would really get excited that, you know, I was able to work hard for this. And I started to see these two reactions, and this just, the divide only grew from there, you know. And then I got a family, I got married, and I started to see a lot of the policies didn't align with my values, you know. It was just kind of these hot button cultural issues. And then I just started to see things like, you know, just financial irresponsibility, not wanting to be held accountable, and just being out of touch with the average working class person. You know, it was just this focus kind of on race and these just cultural minorities, and taking whatever their issue is and making it the broader political party's goal to put that on their banner instead of actually doing something to help it, if that makes sense. And overall, I just felt extremely just patronized. They weren't helping me, they weren't helping my family, they didn't particularly care about me except for my vote. And the way I could tell is they're all riled up right around election time, and then every other time, we don't hear from them. There's a reason why we have rampant mistrust in Congress. There's a reason why we have the highest inflation rates ever. There's a reason why we spend all these money on social programs, but the same social problems still exist, like homelessness and like expensive housing. The fact that we're in San Diego and the average house is, the average rent is $3,000 a month, but the average wage is $72,000 a year. These numbers don't add up. There's a reason why San Diego is $250 million in a deficit, yet Todd Gloria continues to spend money on side projects. And you're telling me that these are the people who resonate with the working class? You're telling me a multimillionaire who is worth an upwards of $40 million who I'm running against, and whose family has contributed at least over $1 million to Super PAC to run and for the election? You're telling me these people are more in touch with the working class? than myself, but people have messaged me really nasty messages on Facebook saying that I should be ashamed because I'm a black and brown person who's a conservative. Which party do you think I would choose to run for? Which party do you think I would more align with my values? The one who respects the fact that I worked hard for everything I've got, or the one who tries to shame me for being a black and brown person and being a conservative? When I talk to somebody who votes for Trump, I'm going to admit I've heard racist people, just straight up racist people who voted for Trump, but most of them I've talked to are working class. Most of them I talk to, we don't even talk about race. We just talk about experiences in our life and how hard we work. And some of them, I don't want to say some of them, a lot of them are actually my really good friends who would literally give you the shirt off their back and you would never know that they were conservative. You would never guess that. They would give you the shirt off their back and the last plate of food on their dinner table. All right? But when I tell somebody in the opposite vein, like a Democrat, that I'm conservative, it is like you see this reaction that almost surprises you because it's almost
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, let's talk about, there's a lot going on in the world. If you notice with the United States news, you don't see a whole lot of things being told about what's going on overseas. Here's a story about the Venezuelan gang here in Brazil, about mass graves and everything. This kind of solidifies what Donald Trump talks about how dangerous these Venezuelan gangs are, right? So let's get right into it. So let's get right into the story here.
An unusual discovery in Boa Vista, the capital of Brazil's northernmost Roraima state. The police takes us to a location they refer to as a clandestine cemetery because of the bodies that have been found buried here 2 months ago. The remains belong to Venezuelan migrants. Police say it's proof the Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua is expanding operations in Brazil.
In Roraima, they used Venezuelan immigration to install themselves here. The killings are the result of a war between gangs, but we are still trying to find out exactly what's going on.
The Tren de Aragua group was formed in a prison in Venezuela. Its members are allegedly involved in drug trafficking, illegal gold mining, and other criminal activities. It has a presence in countries like Peru, Chile, and even the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump has declared the group a terrorist organization alongside the Mexican drug cartels.
9 bodies have been discovered buried around this area. One of them was found right in here. The police says that they found this place thanks to information provided by a member of the Tren de Aragua organization. That same person said that there's at least 11 other bodies buried around this area. They have not been found yet.
At the headquarters of the forensic police, Gilberto Carvalho is part of a team working to identify the victims. He says the number of killings among Venezuelans has increased in the past years.
This shows that the person was beaten several times on the head. And here, in the femurs, you can see sharp cuts as if they were trying to dismember this person.
Millions of Venezuelans have left their country since the peak of the economic crisis in 2017. Criminal gangs like the Tren de Aragua have taken advantage of their plight.
It's very difficult to obtain information from Venezuela on who is involved, but there is no exchange of information, and that is a problem.
Authorities say only a small number of Venezuelans are involved in crimes. Hundreds of thousands of them are just victims of a humanitarian crisis. And the recent discovery of bodies has only shed light on the violence they're exposed to while making the desperate journey away from home. Teresa Bo, Al Jazeera, Boa Vista, Brazil.
Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, that's sad. When you see all the stuff that's going on globally, it's not just in the United States. It's happening in Brazil. Of course, Venezuela itself. My hat's off to Donald Trump, to Tom Homan, with the Border Patrol. He's the head of the Border Patrol here. This thing has to be stopped. And I give kudos to President Trump for announcing Tren de Aragua as a terrorist group, rightfully so. So, let me know what you think in the comments. And again, like I said, I'll be giving more news like this, trying to enlighten the people here, not just in the United States, but globally for information that, we live in a sad state of affairs right now. So if you like the content, just give me a like. If you want to see more of this kind of content, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so you'll know when I post new information like this. I just want to say good afternoon, good night, or wherever you're at in the world. Thank you for joining the show. Appreciate it. Hey, have a good night. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, let's talk about, there's a lot going on in the world. If you notice with the United States news, you don't see a whole lot of things being told about what's going on overseas. Here's a story about the Venezuelan gang here in Brazil, about mass graves and everything. This kind of. All right, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of Doge and their reports with Elon Musk. So we could clear up some of the lies about them cutting Social Security and all this that the left is pushing in the mainstream. So let's get right into it.
Thanks for having us and doing this. I know there's a lot of interest in this. First, let me start with you, Elon. What are the budgetary savings goals, and how much do you think you've achieved so far?
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. So from a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
I'm going to talk to all the guys here about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing.
$1 billion.
You technically are a special government employee, and you're supposed to be 130 days. Are you going to continue past that, or do you think that's what you're going to do? Or?
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130 days. And the process is a report at some point, at 100 days? Or?
Not really a report. We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
And I'm going to talk to the specifics, but there obviously are Doge.
Think about what he just said, $4 billion a day. That's mind-blowing when you think about it. I mean, it's really mind-blowing. $4 billion a day. You think about how much fraud has been going on in the United States government for years. But let's continue.
Critics who are reading all kinds of stuff. Obviously, lawmakers on the other side of the aisle are attacking you. They characterize the approach as this: fire, ready, and then aim. And how do you approach that? How do you respond to that?
Well, I do agree that we actually want to be careful in the cuts. So we want to measure twice, if not thrice, and cut once. Actually, that is our approach. They may characterize it as shooting from the hip, but it is anything but that. Which is not to say that we don't make mistakes. If we were to approach this with the standard of making no mistakes at all, that would be like saying someone in baseball's got to bat 1,000. That's impossible. So when we do make mistakes, we correct them quickly, and we move on.
Some people say this shouldn't take a rocket scientist. Steve Davis, you are a rocket scientist.
Used to be.
Yeah, I know. And now essentially you're the chief operating officer of Doge, day-to-day operations. Fair to say?
Yeah, part of the Doge team.
So how did you end up here? What's the biggest challenge you see?
The reason I'm here, which is probably for many, is that I think the goal is incredibly inspiring. I think most of the taxpayers in the country would agree that in order to have the country going bankrupt would be a very bad thing, and therefore the country going not bankrupt is a good thing. That all of us are willing to kind of put our lives on hold in order to do. I think the thing that's special right now is we actually believe there's a chance to succeed. That there's an administration that's supportive and a great cabinet and just a great group that will actually make success a possible outcome. And I think that's, given the inspiring mission and given the non-zero chance of success, it was worth doing.
I'd just like to sort of reemphasize that point. The success of Doge is only possible with President Trump and with the outstanding cabinet that he selected. It would be impossible without the support of the president and the cabinet.
But you're finding the money. I mean, it's big numbers, right?
Yeah, like Elon said, the minimum impulse bid is often $1 billion. So, for example, the $830 million, which was the online survey, that's an enormous amount of money. That wouldn't have been found if the Doge team wasn't working with it, in that case, the Department of Interior. But then taking it one step further, Doge then publishes these things on our website for maximum transparency. So now the general public, it would have been impossible for the general public to have seen that. Now anyone can just log into doge.gov anytime and see these payments. As they're not yet in real time, they're close, but they'll probably be in real time within the next few weeks.
But the process, it still involves Congress, right? At some level?
We try to keep Congress as informed as possible, but the law does say that money needs to be spent correctly. It should not be spent fraudulently or wastefully. It's not contrary to Congress to avoid waste and fraud. It is consistent with the law and consistent with Congress. And we've seen actually great support, at least from the Republican side of the House, and occasionally some Democrats too. It's nice to see people cross the aisle once in a while. But usually when they attack Doge, they never attack any of the specifics. So they'll say what we're doing is somehow unconstitutional or illegal or whatever. We're like, well, which line of the cost savings do you disagree with? And they can't point to any. And we list them all on doge.gov and the Doge handle on X. And you'll see just outrageous things, one outrageous thing after another.
Joe Gebbia, besides Elon, you're one of several billionaires here, co-founder of Airbnb, and you wanted to help out.
I bumped into Anthony and Elon probably back in February, and they told me something about a mine that was dealt with retirement, and they said they needed somebody to help out to fix retirement in the government. I loved the challenge, so I jumped on board, and it turns out there is actually a mine in Pennsylvania that houses every paper document for the retirement process in the government. Now picture this. This giant cave has 22,000 filing cabinets, stacked 10 high to house 400 million pieces of paper. It's a process that started in the 1950s and largely hasn't changed in the last 70 years. And so as you dug into it, we found retirement cases that had so much paper, they had to fit it on a shipping pallet. So the process takes many months, and we're going to make it just many days.
Will it be digitized, or how?
Absolutely. So this will be an online digital process that will take just a few days at most. And I really think, it's an injustice to civil servants who are subjected to these processes that are older than the age of half the people watching your show tonight. So we really believe that the government can have an Apple Store-like experience, beautifully designed, great user experience, modern systems.
Because right now it's by hand.
Yes, the retirement process is all by paper, literally with people carrying paper in manila envelopes into this gigantic mine.
So they can't retire.
I mean, think about it. Why would you have the retirement process of the government all paper? I mean, I think that, you may agree or disagree, probably because they're doing fraudulent stuff, right? So they don't want a trail. So with computers, you can have a trail. You have a digital footprint of this process, which you can audit, right? So I'm almost sure a lot of these retirees are getting, some of them, these bureaucrats are getting millions of dollars funneled into their retirement. I guess for little things that they did for the government, rogue things. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
More than a certain number every month.
Yes.
About 8,000 a month.
That's how the reason we discovered it was we were saying let's encourage voluntary retirement. They said, well, the most they could do is 8,000 a month. And even under normal circumstances, it can take 6 to 9 months just to have your retirement paperwork processed, and they often get the calculations wrong. So we're like, well, why would it take so long to retire? And they're like, well, because of the mine. And we're like, what do you mean a mine? What's a mine got to do with retiring? And that's where we discovered that all the retirement stuff is still done by paper in a process that looks identical to what occurred in the 1950s. Like if you took a snapshot of the mine when it first started in the 50s to today, it looks the same.
It's amazing. So how long do you think it'll take to turn over?
We're working as fast as we can. Probably next couple of months we'll have this overhauled. And, I really think, again, why are we subjecting our federal workers to processes that they actually have to go through a training just to retire from the government? There's a whole training program that people have to go through in order to retire. I think we can do better for them.
Aram Moghadassi, Doge engineer. You go into these places, one of the more than a dozen engineers, first people to go into the agencies and view the computer data sets. Tell me what you're finding, and for people who don't understand how that process works, explain it for them.
Yeah. I'll say the first thing that got me really excited about Doge was learning basically the state of government computers. By some estimates, government IT costs about $100 billion, and it's funding systems that are over 50 years old, in the case of something like Social Security or the IRS. So really critical systems are old. They cost a lot of money to maintain, and they can be, the efforts to improve them are often very delayed. So I thought I'm a software engineer that maybe could make a difference here, and that's really what inspired me at a high level.
There's a lot of mystery about Social Security and a lot of words about it here's what Democrats have been saying about it.
It's absurd that Elon Musk is trying to eliminate billions of dollars from Social Security.
Elon Musk and President Trump have set their sights on cutting Social Security.
Their goal is clear: destroy Social Security from within.
You're in the building. I mean, you're in the computers. What's happening there? What are you doing?
Yeah, it doesn't line up with my experience on the ground. And I'll say the two improvements that we're trying to make to Social Security are helping people that legitimately get benefits, protect them from fraud that they experience every day on a routine basis, and also make the experience better. And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40%?
That's right.
40%?
Almost half.
Fraudsters.
Yes, and they steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say, they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. There's this happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of Doge, will receive more Social Security, not less. I want to emphasize that. As a result of the work of Doge, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true. Let's check back on this in the future.
So, Washington Post, the Social Security Administration website crashed 4 times in 10 days this month because the servers were overloaded, blocking millions of retirees and disabled veterans from logging into their online accounts. Freaked people out. Is that going to change?
Yes, we're going to make sure that the website stays online.
Yeah. I mean, but is it a result of going in there
No.
or something you're doing?
No. The amount of issues.
I mean, the mainstream media. I mean, I think that's the Washington Post. I mean, we already know it's run by a bunch of liberal reporters there and editors. You know, it's so obvious. Again, those who cry the loudest are the guilty ones. And they know, again, these mainstream media outlets are owned by a lot of these corporations. That's part of the fraud. I mean, we saw it all through the Obama administration. We saw it through the Biden administration. You didn't see that with Trump because, again, you know, Trump called it out and the people didn't like that, but he was telling the truth. But, you know, enough of my comments. Let's get back into it.
Issues that were the Social Security system are enormous. As an example, there are over 15 million people that are over the age of 120 that are marked as alive in the Social Security system.
And that's an accurate figure.
Yes. Correct.
15 million.
Correct. This has been something that's been identified as a problem, again, pre-existing problems since 2008 at least, from an IG report. So there were some great people working at the Social Security Administration that found this, 2008, and nothing was done. And so 15 to 20 million.
Think about it. 2008, who was president? Obama. Okay? Obama was president. So we see where this fraud and waste really started ramping up. I mean, it was always there. It was always there, but it escalated. It skyrocketed from 2008 up to today, which is today's March 28th, 2025. So let's get back into the video.
And Social Security numbers that were clearly fraudulent were floating around that can be used only for bad intentions. There'd be no way to use those for good intentions. And so one of the things the Doge team is doing is carefully and very methodically looking at those and making sure that any fraudulent ones are eliminated.
Brad Smith, working at HHS, and obviously another element is Medicare and Medicaid, NIH. What are you finding?
Yeah, well, I'd say there's a couple of things we're really committed to in our work at HHS. Number one, making sure we continue to have the best biomedical research in the world. And number two, making sure, which President Trump has said over and over again, that we 100% protect Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a lot of opportunity. So if I take NIH as an example, today, if you're an NIH researcher and you get a $100 grant at your university, today you get to spend 60 of that and your university spends 40 of that. The policy that we're proposing to make is that you get to spend 85 of that and your university spends 15. So that's more money going directly to the scientists who are discovering new cures. Another example at NIH is today they have 27 different centers. They got created over time by Congress, and they're typically by disease state or body system. There's 700 different IT systems today at NIH.
700 different IT systems.
IT software systems. They can't speak to each other.
And so they don't talk to one another.
They have 27 different CIOs. And so when you think about making great medical discoveries, you have to connect the data.
Time out. You said 27 different chief information officers?
Correct.
And most of them are non-technical.
So there's a lot there.
There's a lot of opportunity. It will make science better, not worse.
And when I say that our job is tech support, I really mean it.
Yeah.
We have to fix the computers. If the computers can't talk to each other, you can't get research done. If the computers can't stay online, people won't receive their Social Security. So what we have here are a bunch of failing computer systems that are preventing people from receiving their benefits, that are preventing people from preventing research from happening, that are extremely vulnerable to fraud, and we're fixing it.
And does that include AI? Does that include kind of changing the system overall? That's, I guess, what people are afraid of, is they don't know what this is all looking like, and is it going to affect me in the long run?
Yeah, people only afraid is because the mainstream media keeps saying, oh, they're going to take away your Social Security and your Medicaid, which is a lie. I mean, Elon just said it on the record. He says, in the future, you can quote me on this, that we will improve the system and people will get more money, not less. What he wants to do and the Doge team wants to do is eliminate the fraud and waste. So bottom line, let's get back into the video.
Long term.
it's going to affect them. It's going to affect people very positively. So the changes that we're doing here will ensure the solvency of the American government, of the United States of America. This is what we're trying to do, is ensure that people do receive their benefits in the future. And you can only receive your benefits if the country is operating in a healthy and competent way.
Up next, how the DOGE team plans to streamline some federal jobs and agencies. And later, Elon Musk answers some of your questions that you asked via X. Anthony Armstrong, DOGE, Office of Personnel Management, Morgan Stanley banker, M&A guy.
Yeah.
Money, and this is a lot of money sloshing around.
There's a lot of money sloshing around. There's a lot of money sloshing out the door. And if you look at the federal government and the way the workforce works, it's really a one-way ratchet over decades. So
it's only going up.
It's only going up. You never take it away. So that leaves you with duplicative functions, it leaves you with overstaffing, and it leaves you with functions in the wrong places. So a couple of examples. Duplicative functions. Brad mentioned 27 CIOs. If you kept going with Brad, he would talk about the communications office. I think you've got 40 distinct communications offices in HHS, right? Yeah.
40?
Yeah, and that's not unusual, by the way. Multiple offices like
that. It's not making anyone healthy.
This is not about the employees. There's many hardworking, well-meaning people who took these jobs. These jobs were out there. They applied for them. They took them. They're doing what's there. It's just that they're duplicating the effort of 40 offices. So you've got that. You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year, you can
re-provision. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you have 1,400 people whose only job it is to give out a laptop and a phone?
That's crazy. The whole IRS could be handled once a month. So that doesn't make any sense. And President Trump's been very clear. It's scalpel, not hatchet, and that's the way it's getting done. And then once those decisions are made, there's a very heavy focus on being generous, being caring, being compassionate, and treating everyone with dignity and respect. And if you look at how people have started to leave the government, it is largely through voluntary means. There's voluntary early retirement, there's voluntary separation payments. We put in place deferred resignation, the 8-month severance program. So there's a very heavy bias towards programs that are long dated, that are generous, that allow people to exit and go and get a new job in the private sector. And you've heard a lot of news about rifts, about people getting fired. At this moment in time, less than 0.15, not 1.5, less than 0.15 of the federal workforce has actually been given a RIF notice. So
they're selected if they're leaving.
It is
basically almost no one's gotten fired. That's what we're saying.
Tom Krause, working at Treasury, you are having access to the payment system, oversees all the outgoing payments. Essentially, those payments were going places we didn't know where they were going, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, Brett. As an ex-CFO of a big public tech company, really what we're doing is we're applying public company standards to the federal government. And it is alarming how the financial operations and financial management is set up today. There is actually really only one bank account that's used to disperse all monies that go out of the federal government.
Time out. One bank account.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
It's a big one. A couple weeks ago, it had $800 billion in it, but it's the Treasury General account. So when you hear, some of my colleagues here, what they're talking about in terms of the fraud, you have to ask, well, why is this allowed to happen at a financial level? Well, it's actually quite simple but alarming. The Treasury, up until now, and thanks to President Trump, we're fixing this. In fact, there's an executive order that he just signed the other day, which is protecting America's bank account, because it really is the taxpayers' money. One, we're changing the culture. The culture is been not a lot of caring and not a lot of commitment to doing what's right relative to financial operations.
Yeah, this is why I did this segment, because the mainstream media has been peddling lies, as well as a lot of the left in the House of Representatives peddling that Elon Musk and Doge, the team, they want to take away your benefits. Everything's fear mongering with the left, right? I mean, it's always fear mongering. They're always peddling fear among their voters because they know they want to get a reaction out of them because they really don't want to be exposed for all the waste and fraud that's been going on. So let's continue this video.
There's $500 billion of fraud every year. There's hundreds of billions of dollars of improper payments, and we can't pass an audit. The consolidated financial report is produced by Treasury, and we cannot pass it on. We have material weaknesses. What that means is that if I was a public company CFO, I would effectively be removed. I couldn't file financial statements. I couldn't issue securities.
Never pass an audit?
Can't pass an audit.
Right. The federal government cannot pass an audit. It's impossible. In fact, in order to pass an audit, you need the information necessary to pass an audit. You need to have the payment codes, you need to have the payment explanation, and you need to have a person you can contact to understand why that payment was made. None of those things were mandatory until just recently, just a few weeks ago. In fact, maybe last week?
Yeah, we're serving 580 plus agencies. And up until very recently, effectively they could say make the payment and Treasury just sent it out as fast as possible. No verification. And so what we're doing is what any household would do. But imagine you're a household, you have a bank account, everyone has an ATM card connected to that account, everyone has a checkbook connected to that account. It's not just your children, it's not just your parents, it's your in-laws, it's your extended family, and they all can go to the account and disperse funds. No questions asked, no justification, no verification.
Up next, the Doge team targets government contracts, and we'll show you what they're finding. Tyler Hassan, Interior Department, you're a former oil company CEO. You're reviewing contracts before they're approved for funding. What are you finding?
Well, Elon and Steve kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I actually found that customer service survey contract. I actually have an example of one right here. I could have done this in high school. And
is that right?
I found it.
Is that bad?
I found it on the weekends because under the Biden administration, there was no departmental oversight within the Department of Interior whatsoever. None. We are now reviewing every single contract, every single grant, and when things come to my attention that don't make sense, I'm bringing them to Secretary Burgum, and he's been fantastic. He's a businessman. He's very supportive of Doge. It's been wonderful to work with him.
Is the battle between government of decades of buildup and business, which you guys are, is that like a train hitting each other? I mean, it seems like it's pretty disruptive.
Well, this is a revolution, and I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. You know, one of the things I learned at PayPal was you know who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. She has why?
It's called,
and there are many such cases like that.
Abrams of
I
Georgia.
think that most people, common sense-wise, would say the fraud's got to end.
Yeah.
They're concerned about the 94-year-old mother who skips a check or somehow doesn't get what she's supposed to get.
Right. And what we're trying to say is actually that the 94-year-old grandmother is actually, as a result of Doge's work, going to get her check. She's not going to be robbed by fraudsters like she's getting robbed today. And the solvency of the federal government will ensure that she continues to receive those Social Security checks, that Medicare continues to work, without which we're all doomed. The reason we're doing this is because if we don't do it, America's going to go insolvent. We're going to go bankrupt. And nobody's going to get anything.
Why are you guys all doing it? I mean, you can pipe up, but you don't have to be here, right? I mean, you don't have to be
here.
here.
I have blessed with four beautiful children, my wife and I. but we have a real fiscal crisis. And this is not sustainable. And what's worse, back to my children and everyone else's children, is we are burdening them with that debt. And it's only going to grow.
Steve, there's not a lot of hierarchy here. You guys are kind of all approaching it in different, silos, but with the same kind of goal, right? I mean, this is really Silicon Valley, private sector colliding with government.
Yeah, exactly. And we're headed in a bad path, but then the chance of success exists. And just the one that just is in my head right now, which is a fairly mundane one, but I think is very illustrative, is credit cards. There are in the federal government around 4.6 million credit cards for around 2.3 to 2.4 million employees. This doesn't make sense.
Right.
And so one of the things all of the teams have worked on is we've worked with the agencies and said, do you need all of these credit cards? Are they being used? Can you tell us physically where they are?
I hope they're getting frequent flyers.
Actually, on a different note, the rewards program the federal government has is actually not very good. That's a whole other...
It's a negotiation.
Sure, yeah, exactly. But so far, the teams have worked together, and they've reduced it from 4.6 million to 4.3 million. So
we're taking it easy. But clearly there should not be, more. There should not be more credit cards than there are people. Yeah.
Joe, middle-level employees, are they seeing a benefit to being empowered by taking out bureaucracy? I mean,
absolutely. I mean, I think what you're seeing is taking the best of Silicon Valley and the business world and bringing it into the government. We're bringing the best practices and the best methodologies, and people are inspired. Right, especially on the retirement process, which I can speak to. They've been trying to modernize and get off of paper since early 2000s, very unsuccessfully. Every attempt has gone over budget and been canceled because it hasn't been successful. And so, I showed up and I feel like I'm here because it's an interesting problem. We can use design to solve it and good engineering, and really create a better experience for everybody.
We're talking about elementary financial controls that are necessary for any company to function. So, like, if the federal government, if a commercial company operated the way the federal government does, then it would be immediately go bankrupt. It would be delisted. The officers would be arrested. The changes we're putting in place will enable the federal government to pass an audit. It will enable taxpayers to know where the money is going and know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent well. The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other. So if the computer systems don't talk to each other, then you can exploit that gap, and fraudsters exploit that gap to take advantage. For example, there were over $300 million of Small Business Administration loans that has been given out to people under the age of 11.
Well, actually, to add to it, it's 300 million under the age of 11 and over 300 million to over the age of 120.
Definitely small.
Think about what you just said. So they're giving out loans to children and dead people. That's what he's basically said in a nutshell. That's nuts. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. I'm just curious to know what you guys think as taxpayers.
Small business loans.
Correct. Yes. The oldest American is 114. So it's safe to say if their age is 115 or above, they're fake. Or they should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And we should not be giving out loans to babies. So the youngest recipient of a Small Business Administration loan is a 9-month-old, which is a very, very precocious baby we're talking about here. So obviously it was just fraudulent. And they do terrible things. They actually will see that a kid's been born. They will steal that kid's social security number and then take out a loan and leave that kid with a bad credit rating. There was literally a baby. The terrible things are being done is what we're saying.
And how
we're stopping these terrible things.
And you can stop it? I mean,
we are stopping it.
The reason this is happening is because the two systems are not talking to each other.
Yes.
Right. And so you don't know at the Small Business Administration that you're giving a loan to a 9-month-old, which happened in one case, because you're not cross-referencing that with the Social Security Administration data that has birth dates. So that very, very simple fix eliminates tremendous fraud. And that there are multiple systems across the government where the systems are not speaking with one another. And if you just solve that simple problem, you would solve a huge amount of fraud.
Are you
So
surprised?
one of the ways that, like one of the key tricks that the fraudsters pull is that they will use the fact that someone is marked as live, and as sort of just that Social Security number is marked as live in Social Security, and then get disability and unemployment insurance for a dead person. Because the databases don't talk to each other, all they got was from Social Security is like, is this person alive? Yes, they're not alive. It's falsely marked. Person is falsely marked as alive in Social Security, but they didn't. But that person, a fraudster can now get unemployment and disability from a dead person. This is happening all the time at scale.
Are you surprised at some of the legal efforts and some of the judges that have weighed in? There's about 8 or 10 now of these cases that are at least temporary holds. They're being challenged by the DOJ.
Right.
Are you surprised by that pushback?
Well, it's the D.C. Circuit is notorious for having a very far-left bias. And when you look at the people close to some of these judges, where are they working? Oh, they're working at these NGOs. Oh, they're the ones getting this money. Does that seem like a system that lacks corruption? It sounds like corruption to me.
Last thing, do you guys all see this as a patriotic duty? I mean, is that really what this is about?
It's essential.
Very much
I
so.
do, 100%. I was running 5 businesses in Houston, and I left that. I left great people to do this, and my wonderful wife said, go for it. And here I am. But I feel like this is me giving back to the country.
If we don't do this, we're sunk. The ship, unless this exercise is successful, the ship of America will sink. That's why we're doing it.
Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate the time today, and hopefully it took some of the myth and mystery out of Doge and what's happening behind the scenes.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for this video. As you can see, there's a lot of fraud going on. And again, you have these rogue judges trying to tell the executive branch what they can and cannot do. I mean, no one voted them in. You know, these federal judges, you know, want to take away the power of the president. So as we can hear from Elon Musk and the Doge team, that there's a lot of fraud and waste going on, and it's been going on for 70 years. I mean, look at the retirement process in this Iron Mountain, in this mine. This is stuff that no one knew about. The American taxpayer, at least. Yeah, the bureaucrats know about it, and that's their system. And that's the way they launder money. So, I mean, that alone, it just gets you really angry, just thinking about it, especially if you're a taxpayer, work hard every day just to put food on your table, just to pay your mortgage, put your kids through college and schools and whatever else that, you know, the other expenses that you have, doing it the right way. And then they'll have these 14,000 IRS agents coming after you and want to audit you, but they're not audited. You know, hypocrisy at its finest. But anyway, thank you for watching today's video. If you like the video, please do me a favor, hit the like button. And if you really enjoy my content, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel.